All right, so good morning, and welcome everyone to today's peer sharing call. Today's call is on the strategy strengthening families. Before we get started, just wanted to go over a few housekeeping rules. Just make sure that you stay muted. We'll be recording the webinar and sending out the PowerPoint later. Just a reminder that if you have any questions, just type them in the chat and we'll make sure to get to them as they come up. And then if you also have any questions, feel free to raise the little hand icon. We do recommend that to hit the view options as speaker view, so you can just have the one speaker video while next to the presentation instead of seeing everybody. And then when we do have the breakout sessions, to have the video on. So I'm going to quickly go over to the structure of today's call. So we're going to have brief background on the Strengthening Families program, where these peer sharing calls, we've been going through different strategies, from our strategy list of best practices. And so we want to give you the background, why they're evidence-based and successful, and tips for implementation and evaluation, and then hear from some of the local jurisdictions that are currently implementing these strategies. So after Rana will go over the background, we'll hear from Anne Arundel County and Wacomico County on their implementation of Strengthening Families. After their presentations, we're going to have a poll question that you will answer that will then break you out into 3 big breakout rooms based upon what you select. And we just ask that members of the teams from Anne Arundel and Wacomico kind of split themselves among those questions, so they're represented in all 3 breakout rooms to help engage discussion. So we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome once again, everyone. And before we get into the objectives, just wanted to offer OPHI, Helene, if there's any updates or hello that you'd like to provide.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. I just have one quick update. I just wanted to remind everybody that any budget modification requests are due to our office by April 15th. So I think that's the only update we have.
Great. Like always, just want to remind, and Dr. Shaya, did you want to say anything?
Of course. So I just want to thank you, Nicole, and thank you everyone on the BIRT team. As you see, we are growing by leaps and bounds, and we are always thankful for the collaboration with Helene and Brooke at OPHI, but also our collaboration with you. So today is one of the important topics that we look forward to hearing discussions about. But remember, our team is always available for technical assistance or as a sounding board for any question you might have. And we look forward to today's session. Thank you.
Okay, so today's objectives for the peer sharing call, like I mentioned before, is to go over the background and evidence of the prevention education strategy Strengthening Families, how to implement this strategy, and to learn from Anne Arundel and Wacomico counties who are currently implementing Strengthening Families. Next.
Thanks, Nicole. So to begin, Strengthening Families is a research-informed approach to increase family strengths, enhance child development, and reduce the likelihood of child abuse and neglect. It focuses on early childhood as a sensitive period of development and on supporting the relationships that are critical to development in the early years. It also provides a pathway for responding to adverse childhood experiences and other trauma that children and parents may have experienced. Implementing strengthening families gives an emphasis on the protective factors. The 5 protective factors it emphasizes are parental resilience, which is managing both general life and parenting stress, and functioning well when faced with stressors, challenges, or adversity. The outcome is positive change and growth. The next is social connections, which is having healthy, sustained relationships with people, institutions, the community, for a force greater than oneself. And the next is knowledge of parenting and childhood development, which is understanding the unique aspects of child development, implementing developmentally and contextually appropriate best parenting practices. The next is concrete support in times of need, which is identifying, seeking, assessing, advocating for, and receiving needed adult, child, and family services, receiving a quality of services designed to preserve parents' dignity and promote healthy development. And finally, socially and emotional competence of children, which is providing an environment and experience that enable the child to form close and secure adult and peer relationships, to experience, regulate, and express emotions. We want to emphasize that this is not a program, it is a framework or model. This means that it can be applied in any setting and everyday practice that serves children and their families. Here's a graphic of the Strengthening Families model. This can be used as a guidance and implementation. This framework is showing how the protective factors become outcome evaluation indicators. It also helps lead to stronger families, optimal child development, and reduce the likelihood of childhood and neglect. The Strengthening Families approach is grounded in 7 foundational ideas. The first is the 2-generation approach, which is a strategy or approach to promote young children's health development by developing capabilities and resources of parents or caregivers. The second is a consideration of culture, understanding, and respect for culturally based values, beliefs, and behaviors. Uncovering the differences and commonalities in values, normative practices, and child rearing goals across cultural groups is an important step in developing culturally competent and effective programs and support for parents of all cultural backgrounds. The third is the strengths-based perspective, which the set of relationships and processes that support and protect families and family members, especially during times of adversity and change. The family strengths help to maintain family cohesion while also supporting the development and well-being of individual family members. The fourth is the biology of stress. So understanding the biology of stress response is critically important in forging relationships and creating environments that support the development of resilience in parents and children. The fifth is resilience theory, which draws out family strengths and potential to meet the family challenges. Beyond coping and problem solving, resilience involves positive transformation and growth. In building relational resilience, families forge stronger bonds and become more resourceful in meeting future challenges. The sixth is a focus on well-being. We must take into account the unique characteristics and circumstances of a family and cohesiveness, family well-being, as the effectiveness with which family members display 9 essential characteristics, which are know, perform, communicate, provide, protect, serve, prepare, bond, and demonstrate. And finally, the 7th is the nature of risk and protective factors, a kind combination of individual, relational, community, and societal factors must be addressed in order to promote healthy child, adult, and family well-being, and to reduce the risk of negative outcomes. So let's move on to the measures of success, process, and outcome evaluation indicators. To measure success, you would need to see an increase in the 5 protective factors. On this slide, here are examples of process and outcome evaluation indicators. The process indicators assess dose and reach of the strategy. Outcome evaluation indicators assess changes in knowledge, attitudes, skills, and behaviors, as well as community and system level changes. Strengthening family includes surveys that collect some of the key indicators. You can see in the outcome evaluation indicators how the protective factors are increased for success. So some examples would be the number of positive parent-youth relationships increase. And so do all protective factors. You can see that in the outcome evaluation indicator. And then the next one would be positive parenting skills increase in parents across the community due to parenting skills programs increasing. This is shown in increasing in knowledge of parenting and child development, concrete support, and parental resilience. So overall, strengthening families helps providers, programs, and agencies to better align their practice to what we are learning every day from developmental science. And just like Nicole said, today we're having two counties sharing with us today, which are Anne Arundel and Wicomico.
So I just unmuted you, Carol. You're leading it, right? So anyone else from Wacomico?
You can unmute Cindy just in case she needs to step in for me a little bit and fill in
Sure.
some sticky spots. Thank you.
All right. And just feel free to say next when you guys need the next slide.
And you can unmute Takesha too, because she probably might have a little testimonial also.
Perfect.
Sorry. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay, today we're presenting on strengthening families. We do the Iowa State University one is for parents and care, and we include parents and caregivers of youth from 10 to 14. Okay, next. And just to give you a little bit of background, this was a little bit before me, but Cindy does remember in FY 2008, actually the Wicomico had received a grant from ADAA. So, that's been a while when we were called ADAA. And they actually did a whole year of strengthening families. So they were able to conduct multiple 7-week programs and also along with the booster. So it was a program within itself. And then the funding ended in FY 2011. I don't know if Cindy, you want to say why, or we're not sure, but it ended.
I think it had to do with the leadership at ADAA at the time.
Okay.
The big person that oversaw that program.
So in 2012, what we did was we were able to put in a little bit of funding, put in some funding to do it, just maybe conduct like 1 7 session and then 1 session of the booster. Okay, next. And just to give you a little bit of background, you talked about it, the Strengthening Families for the parents and youth 10 to 14. It's a family skills training program designed to serve families or caregivers with youth 10 to 14. And the aim is to help parents increase their youth protective factors, such as pro-social peer relationships, and reduce their youth risk factors for behavior, social, and substance use and academic problems. And with our program is for 7 weeks. We do 7 sessions, and we do it on Mondays most of the time. Learning parenting skills and the youth-led. It's video-based. We follow the manual that comes with it and the video. And every session starts off with the family meal. We have the family meal. We have a catered meal every week for the families, and they're nice meals. They're nice, healthy meals, most of them. But we throw in a pizza night, and then we also throw in like a sub night. And the classes separate into the parents have a room where they practice their skills for the first hour, and the youth do theirs for the first hour. And then they come back jointly and we do a family session. And for the families that have the younger siblings, we have that set up where we have babysitters. We have a room that they go in and they do games and activities are planned for them each week. And it's been nice because one of our facilitators is actually a director at Salvation Army, um, the Salvation Army Club. So we're able to use their facility, which can, they have the classrooms. They also have the room for the smaller kids, a whole playroom set up for them. So that works out nice for us, for them being they've been, one of the facilitators has been with us from the very beginning, back in 2008, right, Cindy, when it program first
Yes,
started. Both of our
absolutely.
facilitators have been. And then we also conduct a booster session. It's conducted the same way as the 7-week one. And that's where we invite the families back that were previous in the 7-week class. And this maybe like 7 or 8 months later, they come back. And most of the time, they don't even have any problem with coming back unless they moved away or something. And it's really nice because it's almost just like a family reunion. The families and the youth are glad to see each other after that period of time. Okay, next. And this is just a sample of the flyer. This is the current one that we have out now, where we're getting ready to conduct our next 7-week one on April the 10th. And we distribute it out to the schools of different community departments, social services. A lot of time they'll call us and want to know if we have a parenting program, because some of the families are mandated to take some parenting classes. We put a flyer at the local library. We send it to all our health department programs and health fairs, and sometimes, a lot of times, we get a waiting list. That's the thing, because we try to only have maybe 8 to 10 at the most families, especially depending on the family size. Because some families we've had like 7, 5, 6, 7 children. So that. So we try to keep the classes not. I think they recommend that you keep it around 8 to 10 families. Next. And just some of the highlights over the years where we've been doing it. I've been doing it since 2012 is when I actually started doing it. And some of the things that I've seen over the years as far as the highlights is, the families come, a lot of them come, especially ones that are kind of court ordered to come. They come in, they're not that happy about it. But by about the second or third session, they love it. You see the families bonding, the children are forming friendships. They look forward to uh, seeing the other youth when they come in, and you can see them bonding, and you can tell the ones that bonded really well with each other, and the parents support each other. I see them passing each other's phone number, call me, or they're passing off resources. In the classes, they find that some of the families need certain things, and they'll say, "Well, hey, I know this program here." So they're really working and networking with each other. So we get to see that, and the family meal time. We encourage the families, while they all sit together at mealtime. Each family set at their individual tables together, and we encourage conversation. We even give them some ideas of things to conversate about. We have conversation cards, and just to see them conversate together during mealtime. And we were even one of the other things, even through COVID, we were still able to do our 7 session and our booster session. We did it virtual. So that was a challenge at first, but we kind of mastered it. We started off doing the booster first, and then we did the 7-week one, and it turned out pretty good considering it was virtual. Instead of having the meals, all the families that completed them, we sent them a meal card to go, maybe to get dinner or something like that, or we were able to, since we were unable to do the meal, so they got a meal gift card each week for dinner, so we were allowed to do that. Okay, next. And these are, of course, at the very beginning, they sign a form giving us consent to do photos. And this is just one of our groups, one of our larger groups here that we had one year right there. That's the families and the facilitators. Okay, next. And then at least out of one of the sessions, we let the parents know ahead of time that we want to do just after mealtime, we do a family activity with everybody, with the entire family, with the youth, the parents, and the younger siblings. And this particular one is rock painting. And one of the things we asked them to do is do a rock. Some of them did a couple of rocks showing what are your family strengths, what makes your family strong. So that's one of the activities you see them doing there. Next. And we also do tie-dye. Cindy's our tie-dye expert. The families get together. We all do the family tie-dye. And
That's my
they love
son.
that. The families working together doing their tie-dye.
That's my son.
And the little boy there is Keisha's son. She actually attended the program that brought her children
When he was
there.
little.
That was when he was younger there. Okay, next. And for the younger kids, this is a group of our younger siblings. And one of this particularly, we, like I said, we try to give them fun activities to do while they're waiting for their parents. And this particular one, this is a Home Depot project. We actually had one year, we had Home Depot come in and work with the youth to put together their own little mini toolboxes, and some of them are sailboats. It all depends on what the project is at the time. So we keep them busy, especially depending on the size of the kids. They have all different activities. So that's the younger group there. And the impact with this, the parents, there's at the end of the session, there's a survey that comes with the program. And the survey is like before and after. And once they fill all those out, the parents and the youth, we give them to our evaluator to analyze those surveys for us. And this is just a summary of the evaluations. It's pretty much across the board here with it. The program significantly changed the perceptions and behaviors of youth and parents. Parents and youth had a strong movement in a positive direction, calm when discussing issues, clear rules about alcohols and drugs, trying to see and respect the other's point of view, love and respect shown to each other. Okay, next. And one of the questions that the open-ended question for them to answer, what is the most valuable thing you learned during this program? And these are some of the comments from the parents. And some of them are direct quotes. Strengthening families is necessary in today's society, teaching us as families to pull together and work harder and be quick to forgive and let things go. And then some said, I have learned so much. I have learned to deal with my grandkids a little better. That shows the intergenerational benefits. In these programs, we not only just have the parents, if the grandparents, a lot of the grandparents are raising children, and some of them are co-parenting with the parents in the home. So they all come together. So that's a good thing. And they remember the child's age and learning how to conduct family meetings, because a lot of families didn't know anything, never held a family meeting before, and they found them to be very helpful. And, that was one of the things we practiced, that skill right there. So they had their family meetings, and we give them homework. We have them, do your family meetings, come back and tell us how it went. And, so that works well. Okay, next. And here's some of the youth comments. I made new friends. One said, I should care for others and don't fall into others' traps, and that you should love family no matter what happens. One said, say no to drugs. And the other one, how to be a friend, self-control, how to accomplish my dreams, how hard it is being a parent and a child, and how to deal with peer pressure. Yeah, one of the very first things is we have the kids do a vision board showing, what their dreams and hopes and hobbies and things. And we were just surprised, like some of the parents, it was new to a lot of the parents. They didn't even realize some of the dreams and things that the children had. So that opened up the communication with them. And then we also dealt with, they did a role playing about being, the things that parents go through and the things that children go through. So that's always a good exercise too with the youth. Okay, next. And some of our barriers, with the funding, our funding is limited. So we can only, with the funding and the time, we're only able to do one session. Like I said previously, the other coordinator, when we had more funding, was able to do like, how many sessions do you think they were able to do, Cindy, in a physical year?
Probably about 3 to 4.
3 to 4 sessions. Yeah, because a lot of times some of the families, I have to put them on a waiting list. Maybe sometimes something happened, the family may drop out or unable to come or something. So we're unable sometimes to get all our families in, during the first session. Some of them wait until the next one, but sometimes, we're not able to get them all in. And then also, there's also comes with it a Spanish version. So we really don't have we really need to explore trying to get funding and training to even have a facilitator or interpreters. The ones that we've had so far that were Hispanic, most of they were also English speaking. So we've had quite a few Hispanic families come through our program. Okay, next. And some of our lessons learned were not the whole sessions too close to the end of the school year, because we found that a lot of times the kids are involved in different programs and things like that might stop them from being able to come to the program. And of course, some of our kids play sports and things and after school programs, so we have to look at that. And food choices, we learned over the years what the families like and what's typically are good food choices for the family, so that we don't have a lot of waste in the food. And we always try to complete the sessions before major holidays because of vacations and things like that. And we learned to start on time so we can end on time, because some of our families don't have transportation, so we have to provide taxi service and things like that. So we learned to do that, to get the families there, get them on, keep them on schedule, so we can, because we do have a curriculum that we have to follow, and this program is designed to do it, with fidelity. Okay, next. Oh, and that is it. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want, or comments?
Well, I didn't share, so from my perspective, it was a good program, being that I got to partake in the program. I learned some skills to share. Whether I still execute them, not at the moment, because my son and daughter did go through the program. It was interesting on how to communicate with them. I still do use some of the skills. My kids enjoyed it. I know some of the parents were like, the videos were older. They wish they had some. I guess they want to know some more modern takes on the skills of the parenting. I know Mr. Mark, who taught the class, said it would be good to see, I guess, the modern parenting skill choices. But other than that, it was really good information, good communication, good to see what parents are doing, a good way to get a different perspective on parenting. But all in all, it was a really good parenting class.
And I see somebody.
Yeah, Carol, there's a question about the cost of transportation.
Yes, we cover transportation. We have a taxi company that we contract with each session, and we do provide we try to remove all barriers, as far as the babysitting, transportation, the meals. So we try to cover everything. Yeah.
Have you guys done any long-term evaluation to survey cohorts to kind of measure long-term benefits?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Just the ones that have come, with the curriculum.
Any other questions?
One thing I just have to say is that I think the one thing why we picked Strengthening Families was the fact that there are a lot of parenting programs out there. But one of the best things about it is that it teaches the parents skills and it teaches the youth skills. And then the last hour, it brings them together to actually practice those skills together. Because if you ask them to do it when they get home, it's just not going to happen. But it does happen in this instance in that they're given the time to practice them. And that is, I think, a wonderful benefit of this program.
And it also gives them time together they may not have at home. It gives them time as a family that other constraints that they may not take time. Because spending time with them was with my son that I don't get at home was nice. And I learned how he felt about me when you asked them to explain how they feel about I saw a lot of parents crying because they didn't know their kids felt that passionate about them. They didn't know their kids felt about that way about them. So it was nice to hear, because some kids don't express their feelings to their parents, or they don't even think their kids care half the time. And to hear what they felt about them was really nice.
And just to see them sitting down at the table, like doing meals together and working on projects, some like the family shield and the family tree and things like that, things that they don't typically do together, just seeing them functioning as a family.
Great. So thank you, Wakamako. When we will break out into the rooms, maybe people will be able to ask you some more in-depth questions for follow-up, and we'll come back at the end too. So we'll move on to Anne Arundel. So Louise, who else should I unmute? I'll mute you. And then...
Yeah, so it's going to be me,
okay,
Andreina, and Justin. And I just want to briefly say that we have our new coalitions coordinator, Ashley, joining for the first time today, and our OMPP coordinator as well. First day in the job, that's Brianna. Welcome to our prevention team. We're excited you're here, and that you'll be learning about strengthening families as well.
Welcome.
all right, all you.
Alrighty, so I will get started. My name is Andreina, and I am the Strengthening Family Supervisor for the Anne Arundel County Department of Health. And with me is Louise, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Louise Taliaferro, the Prevention Supervisor for Anne Arundel County Department of Health.
As well as Justin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Noel. I'm the Students Against Destructive Decisions Coordinator for Anne Arundel County Department of Health, but I also am a facilitator for the Strengthening Families program as well.
Thank you, Justin. So with everything that the other people said, I'm so sorry, I did not learn your names or memorize them, but basically we want to add to what they say, and the purpose of our presentation is to provide major updates on implementation for strengthening families, such as highlights, any tips that may work for others that are implementing the program, any major strategic successes, the lessons we have learned, and the outcomes when it comes to measures and impacts. So currently we are offering the program completely bilingual in English and Spanish for all of our formats. And currently we have 3 formats that we are implementing. One of them is in person. The other one that we started implemented thanks to COVID is virtual. And then our third one happens at ORCC, which is the Ordens Road Correctional Center. For the 3 of them, we implement the program for 14 weeks. The ones that are in person will be, well, actually the one in person is for youth from 0 to 17. The virtual, of course, we cannot have any type of childcare, so we have to do it for ages 6 through 17. And at ORCC, the Correctional Center only allows ages 6 through 17 as well. And of course, this includes the parents and caregivers of the youth. Next slide, please. We wanted to present to you guys, what is it that we're doing to try our best to be successful. And we feel that the three major components that is making our program successful is recruiting, retention, and challenges, because without the challenges and without overcoming them, then of course we wouldn't have the experience that we have today. So I'm going to start with the recruiting process, and it is all thanks to the community partners. We count on the schools, the district court, social workers, counselors, psychologists. We go to churches, apartment complexes, as different as that may sound, libraries, nonprofit organizations, any type of health fairs that you guys can think of, job fairs, any fairs that we get invited to, we try to go. We also count on social media. A lot of our community partners have proactively, without even us asking, uploaded our flyers into their social media. And as we all know, social media is a major impact nowadays. Also, graduated families that had a great experience with the program are helping us spread the word and recommending us to other families that may need the program. Our facilitators are a major impact in our recruiting process, because without them, we could not work as a team. And they also help us recruit families. And also within our Department of Health, we have the Adolescent and Family Services that recruit families to us as well. Next slide, please. I just wanted to show you guys our flyers for this spring cycle. It is in English and Spanish. And next slide, please. And then when it comes to retention, a lot takes in place. And I feel that that may be one of the major challenges that people implementing the program may face. And we have found that incentives are a key to create retention, or actually, instead of retention, I like to call it commitment from the families. Of course, we provide gift cards for every 5 sessions of attendance. For graduation, we provide gift cards. For online sessions, we provide gift cards, as well as gift cards for meals. Now, we do provide a family meal every time that they come into our sessions. All of the supplies are provided to them, and of course, it is completely free, so they don't have to worry about purchasing anything. And also providing board games and things that may be fun and attractive to the families can make them come back, of course. The other huge portion that we owe to commitment is our facilitators and the great job that they do, but also the commitment that they have with the program. They do a lot of reassuring. They do a lot of motivation to try to get them to come back to all of our sessions. We have meetings before and after every session to make sure that we fulfill any needs that a family may have. We do a lot of assertive communication with the families. So the role that the facilitators play into commitment or retention will be one of the biggest ones. Of course, incentives, who doesn't like free things, right? And that will make me come back. But money sometimes is not enough, because we do depend on a budget. So the amazing job that they do is what makes the families come back. And then referring them to partners. So we don't stay just with, okay, we implemented the program, it was a great session, bye-bye. No, if the family is going through something, if they're facing any type of challenges or problems, we do provide a lot of resources. We can even refer them to our Adolescent and Family Services here. We make calls just to make sure that they're okay if we feel that they are in the need. So following up, showing them that we care, and also motivating them to come back is a huge play in order for the families to commit to the program, or what we will call retention. Next slide, please.
Okay, thank you, Andreina. So let me just talk about some challenges and ways that we have overcome these challenges. So in terms of being reactive, when the pandemic hit, we all know what happened, right? Most of the services and programs were shut down. So it took us around a month to be in contact first with the developer of the program to make sure we were allowed to even offer this program virtually. And after having some conversations and working as a team, we were able to come up with a format doing virtual that would meet the needs of our families, but also that we were as close as possible to the program design, right? This is an evidence-based program, and we can't just create components or take components out. So we were able to still provide the family meal, actually was delivered to their house before every session, giving them the program supplies, respecting at that time social distances protocols, giving them the incentives. And for that, we received a recognition by the National Association of City and County Health Officials, a bronze awardee for our innovative approach to continuing the strengthening families, even during the pandemic. And then in terms of being proactive, we saw the need of this program for the Spanish-speaking population. So even though we didn't have the funding at first, we were able to provide enough information to leadership, and we were able to find them funding to hire Spanish-speaking facilitators. In terms of cost-saving strategies, unfortunately, we know that our budget is very limited. There was no increase throughout the years. So we were able to, for example, just purchase supplies in bulk to save some funding and still be able to provide all the supplies our families need to attend our program. And in terms of physical space, we just have to think outside the box. So after the pandemic was getting better, it was sometime last year, I think it was from the spring of last year, we were about to do the program in the schools again. Everybody was excited until we received an email from the schools saying that due to COVID, we were not able to go to the schools. So in trying to brainstorm and still wanting to provide that in-person experience after COVID, we talked to our administrators and we were able to provide this program at our office at Langley Road. We had to be very creative. The children's group were held in a kitchen, and we had the parents group in a small conference room for the Spanish speakers. So anyways, it's just working as a team, thinking outside the box, and still be able to overcome all those challenges. Next slide, please. So in terms of outcome measures, I'm just going to present here the ones for fiscal year 2022. So 37 out of 60 families graduated from our program. A total of 106 participants out of 176 graduated. What means is they attended 10 or more sessions out of the 14 sessions, and 60% of the participants graduated. I would say that what drives our graduation rates down most of the time is the data from Ordnance Road Correctional Center, because when inmates they are released, they don't come back to finish the program. Next slide, please. So another way that we measure outcomes in our program is through the pre and post test that our families take. We surveyed around 80% of our families for fiscal year 22, and 100% of the parents, they improved their positive parenting skills. It doesn't mean that they improved in all of the skills, right? We are not measuring the effect size, we're just measuring the percentage of parents that has some kind of improvement. Of 100% of them also improve their overall family strength. And just to give you some of examples of the questions. So for example, for positive parenting skills, we ask questions such as, I praise my child when they behave well. I talk to my child about plans for the week. I monitor my child's activities. So those are the types of questions that they will see on the pre and post test. And in terms of overall family strength, we ask questions related to family unit, effective, positive, discipline style, family organization, if they are holding family meetings. So questions related to that. And then in terms of positive children's behavior, so 91% of those surveyed, their answers reflect an improvement in their positive children's behaviors. To give you some examples, questions are, if your child is eager to learn, knows how to communicate, help others, can resolve conflicts without fights. And 83% of their answers shows an improvement in terms of reduction on their children's negative behaviors, such as fights, they don't listen to others, they break rules, and so on. Next slide, please. Now let's hear from Justin a little bit about the facilitator's perspective on strengthening families. Thank you. Go ahead, Justin.
Thank you, Ms. Louisi. So when it comes to a facilitator's perspective, when it comes to the program, I think it can be broken down into three distinct things, which is the screening of employees, the sense of belonging, and how rewarding it can be for the families. I do think that for Anne Arundel County, we do an excellent job of screening facilitators and making sure that we hire and choose facilitators that have a deep passion for wanting to help not only Anne Arundel County, but to help communities and families. I think that having gone from being a facilitator to also sitting on the review process for hiring facilitators, I think that we do a very excellent job of really asking important questions, making sure that the facilitators we hire do understand not only the benefits of the program, but the importance of the family unit. And on top of that is adaptability, which kind of leads into lessons learned, but I'll get into that later. A second is a sense of belonging, not only for the families, but for the facilitators as well. I know sometimes in certain jobs saying that we are a family can be a little bit of a red flag, but when it comes to strengthening families, I think that the facilitators and the families all having a sense of belonging on the program is what actually helps to make us so very much successful. The facilitators love being able to be a part of the program. We love to help the families, whether we're with the teens, working with the children, or also working with the adults. Everyone has a feeling that they truly belong in the program, that they're actually making a difference. And I think that also bleeds into all of the participants feeling like, hey, these people genuinely want to help me. We belong here. We made the right choice in coming to strengthening families. And also I want to speak on the rewarding, just using an example for one of my students, I'll just call him D, not to give his name away, but when he and his mother joined the program, it was probably the worst case scenario that you could imagine. His father had passed away, and since their passing away, he and his mother had essentially no relationship. They did not really talk to each other. They didn't see eye to eye. He had his plans on what he wanted to do with his life, and the mom was not supportive at all. So not only through the mother learning the tools, how to better communicate with her son, but also going through the teen programs, making sure through the curriculum, we were able to empower him how to healthily communicate boundaries and also talk to his mom. By the end of the program, I hate using the example that it felt like it was out of a movie, but it genuinely did feel like it was out of a movie. They had a very, very healthy relationship. They were both excited to always come to the program. He was constantly giving me updates on how well he and his mom have been starting to get along. She was more involved in his school life. She was happy about his job and career choices he wanted. And instead of chastising him for not doing what she wanted him to do, she was much more supportive and understanding that this is something that he's passionate about and that she wanted to actually see him flourish. So I think with those three things, that's definitely a perspective of why strengthening families works.
Thank you very much, Justin. Next slide, please. And we just wanted to show you a few pictures of our last cycle in-person sessions. Of course, we did get permission from the families or consent to show their pictures. Some of them were while we were presenting the lesson or the session. And then the other ones where you see everyone together and the families participating, that will be part of the family session where they come all together and practice the skills and tools that they have learned together. Next slide, please. And I just wanted to take the time to present to you guys our lovely Strengthening Families program team. These are the faces that take actions, that make things possible, that change other people's lives. And as you can see, our team is very, very diverse. But when we think about diversity, you know, most people just think about race, but it goes way deeper than that. I'm so sorry. So we have people that might be in recovery, people from different ages, single mothers, people that have experience with the youth, with the little ones. At the end of the day, that is very, very important because just like Justin was saying, every individual that's part of our team provides a sense of belonging, and that's how we create commitment from the families and retention. But everything has to be well within the team in order for the families to keep coming together. So I just wanted to praise them and give them the credit that they deserve. And next slide, please. So thank you all very much for listening to us. And I don't know if anyone has any question for us.
Great job. Anybody have any questions? Feel free to raise your hand. I can unmute you or type it in the chat. I'll ask the same question that was asked before. Since you guys have connections to these families, have you guys done any long-term evaluation or planning to do anything like that to see long-term impact?
We would love to, Nicole, it's just funding, because for that to happen, you have to have an external evaluator. However, we do have our family signing a document that authorizes us to do future studies. So hopefully if in the future we have the funding, we already have the authorization from the participants.
Awesome. How do you guys fund the gift cards incentives? Is that through the grants?
Yeah, that's through the block grants. So we do as best as we can to stretch the funding. And if we have, for example, more funding for that, because again, it varies, right? The cost, depending on the number of the families, we can even like make our incentive program more attractive, reducing, for example, instead of giving every 5 weeks, we can give every 4 weeks or even after 3 weeks of attendance. I'm sorry. So yes, but it comes through grant funding.
And how many sessions are you able to conduct per, I guess, grant cycle?
We
Yeah,
are
for now
doing-
it's 14 sessions.
And then I think Carol, I think she might mean like cohorts, maybe perhaps. So how many different
Oh, yeah,
overall sessions do you guys have?
sure.
Mhm.
So we have 3 sessions in the fall, 3 cycles, right? 3 cycles in
okay.
the fall, 3 cycles in the spring. It is just ordinance rule. We were not able to do it in the fall of last year, but we are going to have 3 cycles happening at the same time this spring.
Okay. Oh, and Carol said 14 sessions in each of those cycles.
That's correct.
Okay. Carol, do you want to come off mute, ask any other questions? There you go.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Yeah, I think we talked before about that. Now, with you were able to conduct like 3 of your 14 sessions, cycles. I'll say you say cycles.
Yes.
Okay. Is your funding strictly through the grant, or do you get funding from other sources?
It's all grant, but for example, with Ordnance Road Correctional Center, they give a small grant for us. When we offer for the city of Annapolis, the city of Annapolis funds partially our program. So we get some from the block grant for supplies and other things, but for facilitator salary, the city of Annapolis funds the program for us. So it's a puzzle. Andreina can assure me that it's not easy, to keep track of all of that, but we do as best as we can because we have funding from many different funding sources.
Oh, okay. I was just curious, because I know how expensive it is to run the program. I was curious where all the funding came from to have that many cycles. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Great. All right. So now we're going to, I'm going to launch a poll that will help you guys select a breakout room. So like I said, for the participants from the Anne Arundel Wacomico, if you guys can sort of spread yourself among the breakout rooms and hopefully everyone evenly distributes themselves, and we'll have just discussion, I think, for the next half an hour. if it starts to die down, we'll message each other if we want to bring back, but this will allow us to, go a little deeper to ask each other questions around these topic areas. So feel free to talk about adapted programs. Both people have gone virtual, recruiting, and then evaluation. And
Cindy and Keisha, I'll take the middle one, how to recruit family and sustain participants.
And we'll share some of these tips when we come back. So if we perhaps make sure if you guys from your jurisdictions, maybe spread yourself out too. So you don't have, right now we have a lot in the middle to try and spread us out. And everyone does need to answer so we can populate you. If you have an answer that please respond.
Nicole, I just had heard Carol picked the same one I did. Now, how do I pick another one? What, how do I get into a different room?
Well, it looks like it might not be even setting up as I thought it would. It's supposed to. So all right, so what I need you guys, now that you guys saw that, it didn't actually do it how I wanted. So we're gonna do it. It will work this way now. All right, so essentially the breakout rooms, I'm gonna open them, and if you selected adaptation, you'll pick the adaptation room. Recruitment, select that room. Evaluation, select that room. And I might, depending if we have too many in, to help kind of distribute a little better, I might move some people around. But at this point, that's where you can, Cindy, just make sure. So I'm gonna open the rooms, and hopefully we have some ways to have some discussion with all of you guys around that, and people can learn. So.
Nicole, I didn't go to a room. I'm still here.
The room students.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get in the room either.
Nicole, at the bottom of everyone's screen, it should say breakout rooms. And they just have to click on that, and then it opens, and then they can click which one they want to join.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did that, but it didn't give me a selection. I clicked join the breakout room, but it didn't give me a selection.
I'll send you to it.
It didn't send me anywhere either. This is Sadie.
Let me play her. Oh, there it goes.
And
Oh, I think it might be that if you are in peer adaptation. Their rooms are there now, so I'll just move people. Brooke, where would you like to go? Because
I am waiting to see the distribution.
okay.
I know Carol said she wanted to do, I think whatever the middle question was, which I think was recruitment.
I'll send her there.
I don't know what Sadie wanted to do.
I picked whatever the first selection was.
All right, I moved you because then I can join my room. Brooke, so you can move to any of them I can send you to.
Yeah, I'll move. I'm still looking at the numbers.
Okay, because
The
I
distribution,
wanted
so I can even it out.
to join.
Go ahead, you can join. I don't think I know how to join the rooms. I'll be fine.
Okay.
Amy, Jackie, and Larissa are still here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what room to go in because that's not one of the programs that we use. So I don't know.
Maybe something on evaluation. To consider something, because evaluation, regardless of kind of
Yeah.
the program, maybe that would be helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not directing you. I'm just suggesting.
That's helpful. It's helpful. It's helpful. So thank you.
Okay. All right. People look like they're coming. Are they coming back? So Vanessa.
It just won't. It's like searching, like it's trying to let me in.
Oh, so then maybe Vanessa.
So I cannot participate in the room at this time. I have a prior commitment.
it only our group that came back?
So sorry, everyone. I think I didn't set that for half an hour. So if people were in the middle of discussion, I can, by a quick vote, I can quickly relaunch us. Or we can just have a group where people get most of their discussion. We can just have a group of like anything that you wanted to kind of share and ask back with everyone.
I guess we could stay on and continue, Nicole. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. So we'll just quickly highlight then if there was anything, if people had any other questions that weren't in the breakouts that if you wanted to, so I guess the first one was on adaptation. Was there any like main stuff or any questions for people that were not in that breakout that wanted to just sort of ask anything?
Well, I think maybe we had Anna had volunteered for us to take a few notes on what was discussed in our group. So maybe let her share what was discussed, and then if there was any additional questions, we can go from there. Louise did a great job of answering a whole lot of questions, so we appreciated her. So
yeah, that sounds great. And I, of course, on my room forgot to use the whiteboard, so I'll just share from what I remember, even though I told us to use whiteboards. So go ahead.
Go ahead, Anna. Thank you. And
Sure.
Ashley.
So basically, with adaptation, it was presented that there was more challenges than anything, especially over the pandemic. So I might be saying this a little wrong, but a lot of the areas, there wasn't good internet service. When you're doing a family, more than likely, like you need several devices. Some of the families didn't have several devices. They had issues with privacy as far as like logging on to the meetings. And it was a lot of like, I mean, a lot of work put in on both ends to like make these sessions work. And another thing was that since it was like such a process, they had to reduce the sessions from an hour to 30 minutes. So it was just challenging, but they made it work. Adriana, right? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Louisa, you got my name.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how
I
this
know, see, that's
happened.
what happened to me. Mine had said during.
Oh yeah, it switched.
Andreina and I, we share an account. Sorry, Louisa here. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's basically what we talked about and reported on.
I know, Louisa, you had mentioned that there was some, I guess, benefits though, right, of going virtual, and that's why you guys have sort of continued that as an option. I don't know if you wanted to share that with other people.
Sure. It's just like some families, Andreina can help me if I forgot something. Some families now they prefer virtual, right? They don't have to drive to a site. If they have mobility issues, they can still take the program. So there are families that they just want to do virtuals. That's why we are keeping one cycle virtual and then one in person. And then even to share a few adaptations, and I know Anna didn't mention, so we had to be very creative, right? So let's talk about internet issues. So we had a situation in which a family, it was a grandmother raising her grandkids, teenagers, none of them had smartphones. So guess what we had to do? She was taking over the phone her session. And because the teenagers had a session at the same time as the parents, we had to create an extra teens group to be our over the phone teens group. I had to go in person to their home, explain how the program works, explain how they had to unmute, pressing *6 on their home phones. And then we created a group in which those teenagers, they were listening to the session, participating over the phone. We actually had another situation with two teenage Spanish speakers that will not speak English at all. So we created another virtual group just in Spanish for them to take the teens group in Spanish, separate from the other teens because they didn't speak English at all. So we had to be very creative during the pandemic to accommodate to the needs of all the different needs of our families.
We need to all give a hand clap for that, because I just think that is like amazing. When she talked about that, I just really think that that is like what, I mean, I know all of you hands down do everything over the top. You know, you guys go above and beyond every day in prevention to help your communities. But I mean, that's what you all do. You go out of your way to make sure that your communities are getting what you need. That is the preventionist. That, you know, that's way above what you all get paid for. But my God, that is serving your community.
This is just a question that kind of goes to to everybody, but Jackie was curious about what is the cost of Strengthen Families? I guess per session, is it per session? I guess you have to train the facilitators. I guess what is the cost for implementation?
I can say varies between $15,000 to $20,000. I say vary, right? Because, for example, for virtual, it can cost less because you have less pay for facilitator hours. You know, it's less hours in the program. Still have to pay them for an hour of planning. But again, I would say between $15,000 and $20,000 per cycle. A little less depending on the number of families.
But based for us, for Wycomico, based on 8 to 10 families, it runs about $11,000-$12,000 per cycle for the cycle. Yeah.
Thanks. I think our cost is higher too, Carol, because we have the Spanish speaking group, right?
Yes.
So you have more families, and then you have the facilitator salary. So that increases the cost as well.
Right. That's right.
It might be helpful, even if this is real quick before we jump, it's sort of with an adaptation. It's not virtual adaptation, but sort of thinking, kind of ties into recruitment of partners. You guys mentioned how you're able to leverage resources through partners. I don't know if you wanted to talk about how you're able to do that, and how you've been able to obviously reach more families by sort of figuring out other ways to fund the program.
Well, for years, as far as where we held our location, it was free for years. I mean, we partnered with, like I said, one of our facilitators was a minister at one of the churches, so we were able to use the building for free. You know, that was a cost savings. And one of our facilitators, the director of the Salvation Army, and we used their building for, you know, we got that cost for free. Yeah. Different things like that. As far as those are some cost savings for us.
All right, we'll move to some highlights from the recruitment room. There was a lot of interest in that room, so.
So I took a little bit of notes, but anybody from the room, please 100% feel free to unmute yourself and speak. But I think one of the key takeaways from recruitment was understanding what your population looks like. So for example, in Anne Arundel County, they have a large Spanish speaking population, but the fact that they recognize that this could be an issue or a barrier, and they've taken the time to create things in their language, hire people that look like them, that is a major part of recruitment. People want to feel comfortable and understand the population that they're working with. So just being culturally sensitive and diverse is probably one of the biggest standpoints for the recruitment in that county. And I think that can cross multiple counties. So you think about Howard County, they have a very large Korean speaking population. So things like that are things that each county need to take into consideration when thinking about recruitment. And the other county mentioned that they really just work with their partners, and a lot of the times, a lot of their recruitment comes back from people who, by word of mouth. And I think that's important to note too. It didn't cost any money for someone to refer someone else or for an additional family to say something, to say, my family enjoyed this, you should try it too. So if you do it in excellence, people will talk about it in excellence. So that to me is a major recruiting thing, and it took no money to do that. But anybody else from the group, please feel free to unmute yourself and kind of speak on it. It was a great group. I thought it was amazing, and I was blessed to hear what each county was doing to resolve their issues.
Just one of the other things that we said was that the initial draw, mostly for us, is the incentive. The incentive when the parents, like I said, most of our families come from low income families, and when they see a flyer that says they're offering $100 gift card, that's a draw. You know, our kids, you know, like I was telling in our group, is what our facilitator does the very first day. They asked our youth, why are you here? You know, and they fill that card out, and we save it until the last day of the program, and we read it back to them, and we kind of see what the difference is from when they first initially came to the program, why they came, and then at the end of the 7 weeks, how do you feel about that now? So, you know, we find that the incentives is the draw, the incentives, a family meal, you know, those kind of things, they're important to our community.
Carol also mentioned too, I should have said this in the beginning, she mentioned how they strategically placed the program around the holidays. So because the incentive is there, the holidays draw in people to want the money to do whatever they need to do for their families for the holidays. So I think that's extremely smart as well for recruitment, because if you know that people have a financial need around the holidays and your incentive is the gift card, you're 9 times out of 10 going to get a few more people to participate than before. And so I thought that was brilliant as well, Carol. Thank you for sharing that.
Any other questions for anyone that wasn't part of the recruitment group that just wanted to ask any questions to the whole group? Feel free to type in the chat or come off mute. Okay. Well, if you think of anything, throw it in the chat. And so we'll jump to the evaluation group. We just discussed further about the utilization with Strengthen Families has, you know, the evaluation surveys that come with it. But Cindy pointed out the uniqueness of it's a pre-post, but essentially it's actually almost like a post-post. In that they take the pre-test, would you say 3 sessions into the programming, so that because it really helps with sort of being like honest, because they're trusting of the program and the facilitators to be able to being able to share their behaviors and how it's sort of like reflecting on their skills. Honestly, because there's no judgment, and they know that they can trust the program itself and the facilitators, and so you're able to then really get that true level of where they are and how what they're learning is impacting. So do you want to add more, Cindy? Yeah.
Carol, you could correct me if I was wrong, but I don't think so, unless something's changed, right?
What's that?
About the post test. I mean, the pre-post test.
But yeah, with the pre and post, what they do is they take it at the end. It's the before and after. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but the pre, you don't do the first session. You do it how many sessions in? Is it 2 or 3, Carol?
No, actually with that one, they do it all at the end, Cindy. They
do all of it at the
before
end.
and
Okay.
after. They do the before and after.
Okay. Sorry, I told the wrong thing. I said the wrong thing.
It's okay. And then we did also ask about with terms of evaluation for virtual. And Caitlin, do you want to just share how you've been able to still been able to consistently still get evaluation?
Yeah, so for and Louise or Adrina, please correct me if I'm wrong. So the virtual cycles, they have to come to either our office in Annapolis or Langley Road to get their incentives, and that's when they complete their pre and post test. So we're able to get all that information just as we would in the in-person sessions.
And it seems like so far that in terms of evaluation metrics, it's been no real differences, right, among virtual and in-person sessions.
That's right.
We also had some discussion around, long-term evaluation follow-up and how it is definitely of interest, but, it does have the cost and what that would look like. Potentially like maybe looking into how that could be implemented in jurisdictions, not just in Strength and Families, but really anyone that's doing program and thinking about, follow-up to see longer term impact and outcomes. I don't know if any jurisdictions are currently doing long-term follow-up in any of their programs that can share if they are currently. Carol?
Nicole, when you say long-term, now we do the booster.
Mhm.
Now I don't know if that's because maybe that's not long-term. We call families back 7 to 8 months later. And you talking longer?
That's like somewhat, I guess you're able to see before the booster how well they've been, utilizing those skills. But then, yeah, even longer to kind of longitudinally sort of follow, by providing, how have these increasing these protective factors, right? Like long-term impacted. I think for the initial evidence for a lot of these, they do a lot of longitudinal. That stuff is hard to track, but if there's anything of some sort of follow-up, Caitlin mentioned they used to do like a barbecue that they would at least be able to gather some information.
Now, Anne Arundel, you don't do a booster. Yours doesn't include a booster. It's just the 14 sessions and that's it.
Yeah, we don't have a booster. We used to have a family reunion every year to touch base with the families. Unfortunately, we don't have the funding for that right now.
We have one other question. Do you guys find that the flyers or promos are the most effective way to recruit families, or is word of mouth and referrals from previous family play a part in the recruitment process?
I feel like it's a holistic process and systematic. One will not do more than the other, but if you work with every resource that you have together as a team and you encourage everyone to stay on track, like when it comes to community partners, is that like you ask for help once and then that's it? It's building a relationship, a partnership with everyone constantly in order for them to help you and for you to help them if they ever need something. So if you work on it in a holistic way, then I feel that you're always going to get families recruit into your program.
And just like utilizing your existing networks, I apologize for whoever I cut off. So for example, I can't remember which cycle it was, Louise, I'm sure you're going to remember, where we were having low recruitment. And so our office is located with our methadone clinic. So Louise set up a table outside of the clinic and recruited families there. So there's, if you work within a health department, we serve, families who are at risk and in need. So just utilizing your existing networks as well.
It was last cycle, actually.
Thank you.
Was someone else coming off to talk? Oh, okay. Before with Caitlin. All right, does anyone have any other questions to ask each other or our partners from Anne Arundel and Wacomico around Strengthening Families or about Strengthening Families in general?
I'm sorry, Nicole, could you repeat that?
Sure, I was just saying, does anyone have any questions to ask, Anne Arundel or Wacomico, or just any questions in general around Strengthening Families, the theory, why it's effective and how it works?
I don't have any questions, but can I make a comment?
Sure.
I just want to say, during the adaptation, just to hear um, the efforts that each county had to make to go above and beyond to follow through with the program. Like huge kudos, because not everybody is gonna make that extra step. And I know we're looking at like the program and thinking about the families, but I think to do this during COVID goes a little bit beyond um, um, those expectations, because it was a struggle for people to even get up during that time. And so the fact that you was there to give people a reason to get up and a reason to go on and a reason to keep moving, these programs also supported them mentally. So it gave them an opportunity to just kind of like stay engaged, stay on board, stay involved. A lot of people are now suffering from like social anxiety, or they have become detached from their children just because of going through COVID. So I think some of your impact will probably never be able to be measured. You'll probably never have an opportunity to measure some of the true impact that you made just with people's mental capacity and some of the social anxiety that they could be dealing with, not from being involved in your program. So I just want to say just kudos to that, because it's that's awesome. And I know what our limitations was here, especially with the internet service. Like I live in a community, we only get one company. And if that company goes down, we have no internet, no cable. And some people who use that for their phone service won't even have phones. So I know what it takes to make that happen. So that was totally awesome. So, I just wanted to share my appreciation to both communities for taking that extra step.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks everyone. Brooke, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. One of the things that I'd like to highlight and that we need for all jurisdictions to understand, and what these have done well, these two jurisdictions have done well, is that the question that we always ask about the cultural competency, right? And really addressing health disparities, because the way in which they have tailored their programs to support the needs, making sure what are health disparities, right? We know what are they, those kind of preventable differences in the burden and stress of, disease, injury, violence, like all of that good stuff. So they've made it easier for their people to get what their constituents, the people in their community, to get what it is that they need, right? And have found a way to address those needs to, again, to make it easier for them. And so when we're talking, when our site visits are about to start, so this is the things that we want to understand that you are doing to address the needs of the communities, those with the highest risk, or those populations that need the most support. This is what we're talking about when it relates to cultural competency and addressing health disparities. So be thinking about that and be able to address those questions when we do our site visits. Hopefully that made sense. I don't know if anyone has a question about what I just said, if there's any additional clarity. Oh, good. Y'all understood what I said. Awesome sauce. So I can't wait to hear about how every last one of you are really addressing the needs and honing in and making sure that you are being culturally knowledgeable and competent with regard to your communities. And awesome job, Wacomico and Anne Arundel County.
Thanks, Brooke. One last question to throw out to anyone that's done virtual, but especially if Anne Arundel and Wacomico can answer. In terms of the virtual programming, if you have any tips of how, in terms of engagement and retention in that type of, when it's in a virtual setting.
I can go. I feel that for us, it's gonna sound different, but We don't really see a difference in terms of commitment because it'll depends on how you try to engage your public, the people that you're working with. So if you're providing excellent services, if you're trying to execute the program as best as you can, if you're reminding them about the incentives that they're going to get weekly, the commitment is there. So yes, we may have 1 or 2 families that don't continue with the program for 14 weeks, but online has been actually beneficial for a lot of families. And I feel that online came here only to stay, because even families that have different diagnoses that prevents them to come in person are taking advantage of the online program. So if we start seeing it in a different way, as in, oh, what are my challenges? What can I learn from these different challenges that I have to take it into action in a positive way, then you will see all the benefits that not only your facilitators or team get, but also the families. So at this point, maybe Luisi can say, because she was the one that had the transition, but when I got the program, online was already established. So I would say that the only thing that I wish is it's that we would have more time. But other than that, I don't see a difference between in-person and online because it just as enriched, if it makes sense.
Awesome, thank you. Louisa, did you want to add anything or is that good?
No, you said it all. And it is a different situation now because the very beginning, one of the challenges, besides all the other challenges, was families didn't even know how to use Zoom. So I had to talk in person to them and show them, download Zoom. And then sometimes I remember scheduling tutorials with the family outside of the program hours just to practice. This is what's going to happen when you join the program. I had one family that was Spanish speaker that she actually drove to another parent, Spanish speaker, to help the one dad because he wasn't like tech savvy at all. He didn't even know how to download an app. So she went to his door because he really wanted to take the program. So we had all these things that right now, most of our families, they know, right? Like most of them, they know because the school system, they use parent-teacher conferences virtually, right? They have had students in classes. They have taken classes themselves. So it's a different scenario now. I think it's easier to start a virtual program now than it was in March, April of 2020.
Great, thank you. All right. Takesha, what are you referencing for your question? Do you want
Hi, actually, my computer went out. This is
Sure.
Carol. I'm in with Takesha. I forgot the lady's name. She was going to give us where we can get the free strengthened family training is offered for facilitators.
I think it was our team moderator, but I was telling the people in our group that right now, University of Maryland, the School of Mental Psychiatry, Mental Health, right, Luisi, if I'm not mistaken?
I think it's the School of Mental Health.
Mental Health, okay. Yeah, they're offering the program for free, and I was just giving that as a tip, as in trying to save their budget when it comes to training, or they might want to implement it, but they know that training with another curriculum may be more expensive. So that was just an idea out there to try to save costs when it came to utilizing their budget smartly. But I think someone said in our group, the moderator, I forgot her name, she was really nice, that she had the link to it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, I'm gonna try to find the link.
There.
Caitlin, is that the program that you're saying that's now it's a 10-week, the 10 sessions?
11.
11, sorry, 11. Great. Awesome. If there's no other questions, all I want to thank everyone for participating. The only other thing that would be really great is, last in December for our peer sharing, we kind of talked about community-based process. This peer sharing, we talk about strengthening families. I'd love if everyone could just end the call, leave it in the chat. what's another strategy that either you're implementing or interested in implementing that you would like to hear from other jurisdictions of what that they're implementing, and then we can do for the next peer sharing call. So love to hear what you guys are most interested to learn more about. So drop that in the chat before you leave. Thank you, everybody.